For those who believe, the story is more than just ancient lore. It is a living testament, a beacon in the darkness, a call to remember that love, though misdirected, can still be purified. That power, once abused, can be transformed, and that even the mightiest fall can become the foundation for the greatest rise. So let the story be told from generation to generation. Let it pass from lips to ears, from heart to heart. Let every person who hears it be reminded that within every fall lies the hidden door to redemption, that the light shines brightest in those who have known the dark, and that the angels, Azazel, Soma, Gadreel, and Ramiel, are not lost but found, not condemned but changed, not forgotten but forever remembered. Their tears have become rivers of wisdom, their chains stars of hope, and their story our story. As eras continuum a girar como, as estrelas no firmamento, io tempo, esse artiso invisible, molda novas giracos, que ainda encontram consolo na antiga historia dos quatro anjos. Emma mundo onde apressa anol o sagrado, e onde a verdade frequentemente esse perd entre as voces do ego e de ambiqueo, a historia dessa series, celestiais esse mantum firme, como uma rocha na tempestade. Nas escolas de sabedoria, nas comunidades de fé e nas meditações silenciosas daqueles que buscam a propósito, a narrativa de Azazel, Soma, Gadreel e Ramiel permanece como uma bússola moral. Ela nos lembra que a curiosidade sem reverência pode levar à queda, mas que o arrependimento sincero é a ponte para a restauração. Em muitos lugares do mundo, em diferentes línguas e sotaques, há versos de história adaptadas à cultura local. No deserto, é contada como uma lenda sobre ventos que sussurram sabedoria. Nas florestas trópicas, é vista como canto de escirdos que brilham entre as árvores. Nas cidades modernas, a história é digitalizada, viralizada, recriada em músicas, vídeos e arte. E, ainda assim, o coração de mensagem permanece o mesmo. O amor, mesmo quando esse devia, pode reencontrar o caminho de luz. Há relatos de pessoas comuns que, tocadas por essa história, transformarão suas vidas. Homens que abandonarão o orgulho para esse tornarão pious presentes. Mulheres que deixarão a amargura para ensinar o perdão. Jovens que trocarão o caos interior por propósitos de cura e justiça. E embora os anjos neo caminham mais visivelmente entre nós, as sinais de sua presença. Nas noites em que o silencio é mais forte do que o medo, e em carecos que insistem em amar mesmo depois de serem ferdos, ali está o brilho tenido Ramiel. Nos gestos de protegeo de estranho, na coragem de líder que levanta o quedo, é possível sentir a força silenciosa de Gadreel. Quando uma alma ferida encontra sentido nas palavras de livro ou em simples por do sol, talvez ali esteja o toque sutil de Soma. E quando alguém, em meio a escuridão, discerne a verdade que liberta, pode ser que Azazel tenha susurrado a sua consciência. Esses sinais são pequenos milagres cotidianos, manifesticos de que a graça ainda trabalha por meio de história que comico como queda, mas termina como redenqueo. E quando a nós? Somos convidados não apenas a ouvir essa história, mas a vivê-la. Somos desafiados a reconhecer nossos próprios erros, enxergar nossos próprios excessos de curiosidade, orgulho ou desejo de controle. Mas, mais do que isso, somos convidados a nos levantar, a pedir perdão, a recomeçar. Pois a cada neo define o FIM. O que define o FIM é o abandono de esperança. E enquanto houver fé, enquanto houver o desejo de fazer o bem, de reparar o mal, de amar novamente, Inteo hom caminho de volta. Assim como os anjos encontraram seu caminho à luz, nós também podemos encontrar o nosso. Na eternidade, as estrelas que representam as correntes transformadas ainda brilham. E talvez quando olhamos para osso e sentimos algo inexplicável em nosso peito, chamado uma saudade, uma coragem nova, neo seja apenas o vento. Talvez seja 2-4 sussurrando. Lembre-se, você também pode ser redimido. The ages continue to turn like the stars in the firmament, and time, that invisible craftsman, shapes new generations who still find solace in the ancient story of the four angels. In a world where haste devours the sacred, and where truth is often lost among the voices of ego and ambition, the story of these celestial beings stands firm, like a rock in the storm. In schools of wisdom, in communities of faith, and in the silent meditations of those who seek purpose, the narrative of Azazel, Soma, Gadreel, and Ramiel remains a moral compass. It reminds us that curiosity without reverence can lead to a fall, but sincere repentance is the bridge to restoration. In many places around the world, in different languages and accents, there are versions of the story adapted to local culture. In the desert, it is told as a legend about winds that whisper wisdom. In tropical forests, it is seen as a tale of spirits that shine among the trees. In modern cities, the story is digitized, goes viral, recreated in music, videos, and art. And yet, the heart of the message remains the same. Love, even when it strays, can find its way back to the light. There are accounts of ordinary people whose lives were transformed after being touched by this story. Men who abandoned pride to become present fathers. Women who let go of bitterness to teach forgiveness. Young people who exchanged inner chaos for purposes of healing and justice. And although the angels no longer walk visibly among us, there are signs of their presence. On nights when silence is stronger than fear, and in hearts that insist on loving even after being wounded, there is the faint glow of Ramiel. In the protective gestures of a stranger, in the courage of a leader who lifts the fallen, one can feel the quiet strength of Gadreel. When a wounded soul finds meaning in the words of a book or a simple sunset, perhaps there lies the subtle touch of Soma. And when someone, in the midst of darkness, discerns the truth that sets them free, it may be that Azazel has whispered to their conscience. These signs are small, everyday miracles, manifestations that grace still works through the story that began with the fall but ended with redemption. And what about us? We are invited not only to hear this story, but to live it. We are challenged to recognize our own mistakes, to see our own excesses of curiosity, pride, or desire for control. But more than that, we are invited to rise, to ask for forgiveness, to start again. For the fall does not define the end. What defines the end is the abandonment of hope. And as long as there is faith, as long as there is the desire to do good, to repair what is broken, to love again, then there's a path back. Just as the angels found their way to the light, we too can find ours. In eternity, the stars that represent the transformed chains still shine. And perhaps when we look at the sky and feel something inexplicable in our chest, a calling, a longing, a new courage, it is not just the wind. Perhaps it is one of the four whispering, remember, you too can be redeemed. As punishment, Azazel, Soma, Gadreel, and Ramiel were chained on the banks of the river Euphrates, a place that would become a symbol of their choices. There, their voices would echo in eternal lament, and their tears would mix with the waters. They watched helplessly. Although still endowed with great power, they were now trapped in a cycle of regret and pain. The fall of the angels not only altered the destiny of the four celestial beings, but also left an indelible mark on the history of humanity. The lessons learned from their transgression reverberated through the generations. The story of the fallen angels became a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the pursuit of knowledge without responsibility. Though the angels were chained, Their essences continued to resonate in the human heart. People, upon hearing the stories of Azazel, Soma, Gadreel, and Ramiel, began to reflect on their own choices and the fragility of the line between light and darkness. The fall, therefore, transformed into a narrative of redemption, a reminder that even those who have deeply erred can still inspire goodness and compassion. Thus, the story of the fall of the angels lives on, not just as a tale of tragedy, but as a call to responsibility, reflection, and hope. The true essence of love and kindness can always prevail, even amidst the shadows of the fall. The narrative serves as a profound reminder that even the most noble intentions can lead to unforeseen consequences. It urges us to be mindful of our choices, recognizing that the pursuit of knowledge and power, if unchecked by compassion and humility, can spiral into chaos. This lesson resonates through the ages, encouraging individuals to reflect on their own motivations and the impact of their actions on the world around them. Moreover, the story emphasizes the potential for redemption. Just as the fallen angels found a way to channel their pain into hope, so too can we transform our struggles into sources of strength. It inspires a belief in the possibility of healing, not just for ourselves, but for the communities we inhabit. This idea serves as a beacon of light, reminding us that every setback can lead to growth and every mistake can pave the way for a renewed purpose. As generations continued to pass, the story of the four angels became more than just a myth whispered around fires or written in old scrolls. It became a spiritual parable woven into the very fabric of human understanding. Across cultures and lands, their names echoed in the prayers of the desperate, in the songs of the hopeful, and in the hearts of those searching for redemption. Temples and sanctuaries were built near the banks of the Euphrates, where pilgrims from distant places came seeking wisdom, healing, and clarity. Many believe that if they opened their hearts and walked the path of humility, the angels would send them dreams, visions filled with light and instruction. And indeed, throughout history, there were accounts of people who returned from these journeys transformed, more compassionate, more courageous, more committed to the service of others. Among these pilgrims was a woman named Aliyah, born into a time of great suffering. Her village had been torn apart by conflict, and she had lost her family to violence. Racked with grief and anger, she walked to the Euphrates with the intention of cursing heaven. But upon reaching the riverbank, something changed. As the sun began to set, she saw the faintest shimmer across the water. And in the silence of that moment, she felt something stir in her soul, an overwhelming wave of peace. That night, Aliyah dreamed of the four angels. They did not speak in words, but through feelings, regret, love, longing, and hope. When she awoke, she wept, not from sorrow, but from understanding. From that day forward, Aliyah became a voice of compassion, rebuilding her community and teaching that even in the ruins of devastation, a new world could be born. The tale of the fallen angels thus became a mirror for humanity, showing both the dangers of pride and the glory of redemption. Their story was no longer only about celestial beings who had once erred, but about every person who had ever failed, every soul who had ever strayed from the path and longed to return. In a hidden realm between heaven and earth, it is said that the angels continue to watch, their forms no longer bound by chains of guilt, but clothed in robes of wisdom and mercy. They are no longer the same beings who descended long ago, driven by curiosity. They have grown, changed, matured, not unlike the very humanity they once sought to understand. Azazel now embodies divine insight, helping the wise discern truth from deception. Soma radiates a beauty that no longer draws admiration, but inspires inner transformation. Gadreel stands as a spiritual sentinel, guarding the weak and guiding the lost. And Ramiel whispers comfort to the brokenhearted, his spirit moving gently through the tears of those who mourn. And so the river Euphrates became more than a physical landmark. It became a symbol of the boundary between what is and what could be, between falling and rising, between justice and mercy. The chains that once imprisoned the angels are no longer seen as tools of punishment, but as symbols of a greater truth, that even in divine justice, there is room for healing. That God, in his infinite wisdom, allows consequences not to destroy, but to refine and to redeem. Today, their story continues to inspire books, paintings, songs, and sacred rites. The legend of the four fallen angels speaks to every soul that has struggled, fallen, and dared to rise again. It whispers that no mistake is final, that the journey back is always possible, and that in the heart of sorrow lies the seed of salvation. The true story of the four fallen angels chained in the river Euphrates. In the early days of creation, before time was counted, four angels descended from heaven, sent on a divine mission to observe and learn about humanity. These ethereal beings, wrapped in light and majesty, were messengers of God tasked with understanding the essence of mortals, their joys and sufferings. Each one carried a unique gift. Azazel, the wise, possessed the knowledge of hidden truths. Soma, the beautiful, radiated a charm that drew everyone around him. Gadreel, the strong, was the guardian of hope and protection. Ramiel, the sensitive, had the ability to understand the longings and fears of the human heart. As they observed humans in their fragility, the angels began to nurture a curiosity that quickly transformed into a burning desire. They saw love and pain, the struggle for survival and the quest for beauty, and, fascinated, began to wonder how they could engage more deeply in the lives that intrigued them. This desire, initially innocent, began to root itself in their hearts, leading them to question the limits of their own existence. What was meant to be a simple mission of observation became a journey driven by a desire for connection, a yearning to be part of the creation they admired. But this quest for understanding led them to cross a sacred line, challenging divine decrees. The impulse to help humans, to share knowledge and gifts that, in their minds, could bring greatness, became a catalyst for their fall. These angels, once illuminated, now became known as the fallen, forever marked by their transgression and by the pain that curiosity brought not only to themselves, but to all of humanity. The fall of the angels was not an isolated event, but rather the climax of a process that began with curiosity and the desire to understand humanity. Throughout their mission in the mortal world, the four angels, Azazel, Soma, Gadreel, and Ramiel, were gradually seduced by the complexity of human emotions and the nuances of earthly life. What began as an innocent study transformed into an intense quest for connection and understanding. As they observed humans, the angels encountered a multitude of feelings and experiences: love, pain, joy, betrayal, hope, and despair. They realized that mortals were endowed with a freedom they themselves did not know, a freedom that allowed them to choose between good and evil. This realization ignited a deep desire in the angels to actively participate in human life, to be more than mere observers. Azazel, the wisest among them, began to question the divine orders that restricted them. He believed that humans could benefit from deeper knowledge and skills that would aid them in their daily struggles. Soma, the beautiful, saw the fragility of human beauty and longed to offer mortals a perspective that would inspire them to value life. Gadreel, with his kind heart, yearned to be a protector, while Ramiel, always sensitive, wished to be a comfort in times of pain. The four angels, Azazel, Soma, Gadreel, and Ramiel, were friends who trusted each other. Azazel was the wisest, always questioning divine orders. Soma was the most beautiful, a beacon of light that attracted mortals. Gadreel, the strongest, had a kind heart, while Ramiel, the most sensitive, understood human frailties. Once, while observing humans in their fragility and pain, Azazel suggested they help the creatures. They decided to descend to Earth, bringing knowledge and gifts. But they did not realize they were challenging divine laws. The angels taught humans to cultivate the land, forge metals, and measure time. However, they also revealed darker secrets, such as war and ambition. The world began to change. Love mixed with hatred and beauty with destruction. The once innocent humans became corrupted by their own creations. The heavens watched with concern. God summoned the angels and, with sadness, said, "You have not only disobeyed the command, but also sowed discord among my children." As punishment, the 4 angels were chained on the banks of the river Euphrates, a place where their tears would mix with the eternal waters. There they would remain forever, unable to help the humans they loved so dearly. And their lament would echo through the ages. Azazel, in his wisdom, understood that their actions were driven by love but transformed by ambition. Soma, with his beauty now in decay, reflected on the vanity that led him to fall. Gadreel, with his broken heart, thought of the lives that could have been saved, while Ramiel wept for the pain of humans, feeling the guilt of not having foreseen the consequences. The sacrifice. As the centuries passed, humans faced wars, famine, and despair. The angels, even in chains, continued to feel the pains and joys of humanity. In their suffering, Azazel had an idea. They could channel their pain into hope. The angels began to emit a faint glow that illuminated the darkest nights, guiding the lost. Their presence became a symbol of resistance and resilience. People began to tell stories about the 4 angels, believing that they still watched over and protected those striving for a better world. Over time, the stories of the fallen angels became myths and legends. However, there was a young man named Eli who, upon hearing the tales, decided to seek the Euphrates. He wanted to understand the pain of the angels, and on his journey met an old sage who told him about their sacrifice. Inspired, Eli decided to do something different. Instead of calling for help, he began to aid his community, spreading compassion and love as the angels had wished. His actions brought about change, and others joined him, creating a movement of hope. The 4 angels, even in chains, felt the vibrations of human kindness. On a starry night, the light they emitted became more intense. God, witnessing the transformation in human hearts, decided to free them, not from their chains, but from their guilt. At last, Azazel, Soma, Gadreel, and Ramiel were welcomed back into heaven, not as those who had fallen, but as symbols of redemption. The chains that bound them were transformed into stars, and their stories became part of the eternal tapestry of life, reminding everyone that even in the midst of a fall, there is always hope for resurgence. The judgment and punishment. God, recognizing the gravity of the situation, summoned the 4 angels. The celestial court was silent, the tension palpable. With a look of sadness, God declared that the fall of the angels could not be ignored. They had crossed the limits of what was permitted, and their actions resulted in pain and suffering. Instead of being instruments of goodness, they had become catalysts of destruction.